James Webb just found life? The mystery of K2c18. Something extraordinary may have just happened. A telescope floating 1,000,000 miles from Earth, staring into the darkness of space, may have caught the faint chemical whisper of living things on a world we will probably never visit. The James Webb Space Telescope has turned its golden eye toward a planet called K2-18b, and what it found there has sent ripples through the scientific community. It found a molecule that, here on Earth, is made almost exclusively by life. And now scientists around the world are asking a question that humans have wondered about since we first looked up at the stars. Are we alone? Tonight, we are going to take a slow, thoughtful journey to this distant world. We will learn what makes K2-18b so special, why scientists are both excited and cautious, and what it would mean for us if this turns out to be the first hint of life beyond our planet. So settle in, let the quiet of the night surround you, and let your mind drift outward, past the moon, past Mars, past the outer planets, and into the deep ocean of stars where K2-18b waits. Before we go any further, if you are enjoying this journey and want to explore more of the cosmos with us, please consider tapping the like button below. It helps more people find these peaceful explorations of the universe. And if you have not already, subscribing to Cosmic Drift means you will never miss a new voyage into the stars. We are so glad you are here tonight. Now, let us begin at the beginning. What is K2-18b and why B? And has it captured the attention of astronomers everywhere? K2-18b is an exoplanet, which simply means it is a planet that orbits a star other than our Sun. The universe is filled with such worlds. In just the last few decades, we have discovered thousands of them, each one unique, each one a small mystery waiting to be explored. But K2-18b stands out from the crowd for several reasons, and understanding those reasons is the first step in appreciating why the recent James Webb observations matter so much. This planet was first discovered in 2015 by the Kepler Space Telescope, a remarkable instrument that spent years staring at a single patch of sky, watching for the tiny dimming of starlight that happens when a planet passes in front of its host star. K2-18b was one of many discoveries made during Kepler's extended mission, which was called K2. That is where the planet gets its name. The 18 refers to the catalogue number of its star, and the B indicates it was the first planet discovered around that star. K2-18b orbits a red dwarf star located about 120 light-years from Earth. Now, 120 light-years is an almost impossible distance to truly grasp. Light, the fastest thing in the universe, travels at about 186,000 miles every single second. In 1 year, light covers nearly 6 trillion miles. Multiply that by 120, and you begin to understand just how far away this world really is. If you could somehow travel at the speed of light, it would still take you 120 years to get there. At the speeds our current spacecraft can achieve, the journey would take millions of years. And yet, despite this immense distance, we can learn remarkable things about K2-18b simply by studying the light that reaches us from its star. This is one of the great triumphs of modern astronomy. We do not need to visit a world to understand it. We can study it from afar, reading the messages written in starlight. The star that K2-18b orbits is quite different from our Sun. Red dwarf stars are smaller, cooler, and dimmer than Sun-like stars. They are also far more common. In fact, red dwarfs make up about 70% of all the stars in our galaxy. Because they burn their fuel so slowly, red dwarfs can shine for tens of billions of years, far longer than stars like our Sun. This means that planets orbiting red dwarfs have an incredibly long time for life to potentially develop. But there are challenges to living around a red dwarf. Because these stars are cooler, a planet must orbit much closer to receive enough warmth to maintain liquid water on its surface. K2 Hycean 18b orbits its star at a distance of about 16 million miles, which sounds close. But remember that the star itself is much dimmer than our Sun. At this distance, K2 18b receives roughly the same amount of energy from its star as Earth receives from the Sun. This places K2 18b in what astronomers call the habitable zone, that special region around a star where conditions might be just right for liquid water to exist. Liquid water is important because, as far as we know, water is essential for life. Every living thing on Earth depends on water. Our cells are filled with it. The chemical reactions that power life happen in it. When scientists search for life beyond Earth, they almost always begin by searching for water. K2 Hycean 18b is much larger than Earth. It has a radius about 2.6 times larger than our planet, and its mass is estimated to be around 8 times greater. This makes K2 18b what astronomers call a sub-Neptune or a mini-Neptune. These are worlds that are larger than Earth but smaller than Neptune, and they have no equivalent in our own solar system. We do not have any planets between the size of Earth and Neptune. So studying worlds like K2 18b helps us understand a category of planet that is actually quite common throughout the galaxy. For a long time, scientists were not sure what to make of K2 Hycean 18b. Was it a small gas planet with a thick, crushing atmosphere of hydrogen and helium, like a miniature Neptune? Or could it be something else entirely? This question lingered for years, and it was not until the James Webb Space Telescope turned its instruments toward K2 18b that we began to get answers. Before we explore what James Webb found, let us take a moment to appreciate this remarkable telescope and what makes it so special. The James Webb Space Telescope, often called Webb or JWST, is the most powerful space telescope ever built. It was launched on Christmas Day in 2021, after more than 2 decades of development and construction. The telescope is named after James E. Webb, who led NASA during the crucial Apollo era and helped put humans on the Moon. Webb is designed to see in infrared light, which is a type of light our eyes cannot detect. Infrared light has longer wavelengths than visible light, and it can pass through cosmic dust that blocks visible light. This allows Webb to peer into regions of space that were previously hidden from view. It also allows Webb to study the atmospheres of distant planets in ways that were never before possible. The telescope features a primary mirror that is 21 feet across, made up of 18 hexagonal segments coated in gold. Gold is an excellent reflector of infrared light, which is why the mirror has that distinctive golden appearance that has become iconic. To function properly, Webb must stay extremely cold, because any warmth from the telescope itself would interfere with its infrared observations. A tennis court-sized sunshield keeps Webb's instruments in permanent shadow, allowing them to cool to temperatures far below freezing. Webb orbits the Sun at a point called the second Lagrange point, or L2, which is about 1 million miles from Earth in the direction away from the Sun. At this location, Webb can keep its sunshield pointed at both the Sun and Earth, staying cold and stable while maintaining a constant view of the distant universe. One of Webb's most exciting capabilities is its ability to study the atmospheres of exoplanets. When an exoplanet passes in front of its star, as seen from our perspective, a tiny amount of starlight passes through the planet's atmosphere. Different molecules in the atmosphere absorb light at specific wavelengths, leaving a distinctive fingerprint in the starlight. By carefully analyzing this fingerprint, scientists can determine what chemicals are present in a planet's atmosphere, even from 120 light-years away. This technique is called transmission spectroscopy, and it is how Webb studied K2 Solustinin Titin 18 to minus 18 The results were published in Nature 2023 and immediately sparked intense discussion among astronomers and the public alike. So what did Webb find when it looked at K2 and 18b? The first major discovery was the presence of carbon dioxide and methane in the planet's atmosphere. Both of these are relatively common molecules that can form through various processes, both biological and geological. On Earth, carbon dioxide is released by volcanoes, by the burning of fossil fuels, and by the breathing of living things. Methane is produced by bacteria, by the digestion of certain animals, and by geological processes deep within the Earth. Finding these molecules on K2 fired to 18b was interesting, but not entirely surprising. What made scientists sit up and take notice was the apparent lack of ammonia. You see, if K2 18b were a small gas planet, like a miniature Neptune, we would expect to find ammonia in its atmosphere. The fact that ammonia appeared to be absent suggested something intriguing. K2 18b might not be a gas planet at all. Instead, it might be a type of world that scientists have long theorized but never directly observed. Scientists call this type of world a Hycean planet. The name comes from combining hydrogen and ocean. A Hycean world has a thick atmosphere rich in hydrogen, but beneath that atmosphere lies a vast, planet-spanning ocean of liquid water. Imagine a world where the entire surface is covered by a single global sea, with no continents, no islands, just water stretching to every horizon. Above this ocean hangs a dense atmosphere of hydrogen gas, creating conditions unlike anything in our solar system. If K2-18b really is a Hycean world, it would be the first of its kind ever confirmed. This alone would make it a landmark discovery. An ocean world with a hydrogen atmosphere represents an entirely new category of potentially habitable environment. The ocean could be tens or even hundreds of miles deep, far deeper than any ocean on Earth. Beneath the crushing pressure of all that water, strange chemistry might be happening. And within that ocean, perhaps, life might have found a way. But the discovery that truly set the scientific world buzzing was something else entirely. Among the chemical signatures detected in K2-18b's atmosphere, there was a tentative detection of a molecule called dimethyl sulfide, often abbreviated as DMS. Let us pause here for a moment, because understanding dimethyl sulfide is crucial to understanding why scientists are so excited. Dimethyl sulfide is a small, simple molecule made up of 2 carbon atoms, 6 hydrogen atoms, and 1 sulfur atom. Its chemical formula is written as C2H6S. On Earth, this molecule has a distinctive smell. If you have ever walked along a beach and noticed that characteristic ocean scent, that slight tang of the sea, part of what you were smelling was dimethyl sulfide. It is produced in vast quantities by tiny organisms in Earth's oceans, particularly by a type of phytoplankton. These microscopic plants, drifting through the sunlit layers of our seas, release dimethyl sulfide as a byproduct of their metabolic processes. Here is the critical point. On Earth, dimethyl sulfide is produced almost exclusively by living things. Unlike carbon dioxide or methane, which can form through purely geological processes, dimethyl sulfide does not have any significant non-biological source. It is what scientists call a biosignature, a chemical that strongly suggests the presence of life. When scientists detected what appeared to be dimethyl sulfide in the atmosphere of K2-18b, the implications were staggering. If the detection is confirmed, and that is a very important if, it would suggest that something is producing this molecule on K2-18b. And if we apply our understanding of Earth's chemistry to this distant world, the most likely producer would be life itself. Imagine that for a moment. Somewhere out there, 120 light-years away, floating in the hydrogen-rich atmosphere above a global ocean, there might be microscopic creatures, alien phytoplankton perhaps, producing the same molecule that our own ocean life produces, the same chemical fingerprint written in the atmospheres of two worlds separated by unimaginable distance. But we must be careful. We must be cautious. The history of searching for life beyond Earth is filled with false alarms and premature conclusions. Every scientist studying K2-18b knows this, and they are being appropriately careful in their interpretations. The detection of dimethyl sulfide on K2-18b is described as tentative for good reason. The signal is weak, right at the edge of what Webb's instruments can detect. It is possible that the detection is real, that there truly is dimethyl sulfide in K2-18b's atmosphere. But it is also possible that the signal is noise, a random fluctuation in the data that only looks like dimethyl sulfide. More observations are needed to confirm or rule out this detection. Even if dimethyl sulfide is confirmed to be present, there is another possibility that scientists must consider. Perhaps there is some non-biological process that can produce dimethyl sulfide under the specific conditions found on K2-18b. We know that this molecule is almost exclusively biological on Earth, but K2-18b is not Earth. The conditions there are different. The atmospheric chemistry is different. Perhaps some unknown chemical reaction powered by the light of the red dwarf star or by heat from within the planet could produce dimethyl sulfide without any involvement of life. This is the challenge of astrobiology, the science of searching for life beyond Earth. We must be open to the possibility of life, excited by the hints and signals we find, while also remaining skeptical and demanding strong evidence before reaching conclusions. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and the claim that life exists on another planet would be one of the most extraordinary claims in human history. Let us think more deeply about what K2-18b might actually be like. If scientists are right about its nature as a Hycean world, what would it be like to somehow visit this distant place? You would arrive at a world that looks nothing like Earth. From space, K2-18b would appear much larger than our planet, its disk spanning more than 2.5 times the width of Earth. The color might be surprising. Depending on the composition of its atmosphere, K2-18b could appear whitish or grayish, perhaps with subtle hints of blue or green from the ocean far below. Clouds of some kind would likely swirl through the hydrogen atmosphere, though they would be unlike any clouds we know. As you descended through the atmosphere, you would notice the light. K2-18b's sun is a red dwarf, cooler and redder than our own star. The light filtering through the atmosphere would have an orange or reddish tint, casting everything in unfamiliar hues. If you could somehow stand on the surface of this world, you would find yourself standing not on rock or soil, but on water. An ocean would stretch in every direction, endless and unbroken, waves rolling beneath an alien sky. The atmosphere above you would be thick with hydrogen, a gas that is colorless and odorless to human senses. The pressure at the surface might be immense, far greater than anything we experience on Earth. And somewhere in that atmosphere, perhaps, molecules of dimethyl sulfide would drift, carried on winds we cannot imagine, produced by organisms we have never seen. Of course, we do not know if K2-18b is actually like this. Our understanding of this world is built from fleeting glimpses of starlight filtered through its atmosphere. We are like detectives examining a single fingerprint found at a crime scene and trying to reconstruct the entire person who left it. We have clues, tantalizing clues, but the full picture remains hidden. What we do know is that K2-18b represents a genuinely new kind of world. For decades, scientists searching for habitable planets focused primarily on Earth-like worlds, rocky planets roughly the size of Earth, orbiting sun-like stars at distances that would allow for liquid water. K2-18b challenges this narrow focus. It suggests that habitability might take forms we have not previously imagined. An ocean world with a hydrogen atmosphere warmed by a dim red star might be just as capable of supporting life as a rocky planet like Earth. This is one of the great lessons of exoplanet science. The universe is far more creative than our imaginations. Every time we think we understand the range of possible worlds, we discover something new that expands our perspective. K2-18b is the latest in a long series of surprises, and it surely will not be the last. Let us now turn to the scientific community's response to these findings. How are astronomers and astrobiologists interpreting what Webb has found? The reaction has been a mixture of excitement and caution, as you might expect. On one hand, the data from Webb is genuinely remarkable. The detection of methane and carbon dioxide, combined with the apparent absence of ammonia, provides strong evidence that K2-18b is indeed some kind of ocean world rather than a small gas planet. This alone is a significant scientific finding, worthy of celebration and further study. The tentative detection of dimethyl sulfide has generated the most discussion and debate. Some scientists are excited about the possibility that this molecule so closely associated with life on Earth might be present on a world so far away. They see this as exactly the kind of result that Webb was designed to deliver, a potential biosignature that demands follow-up observation and careful analysis. Other scientists urge more caution. They point out that the detection is weak, right at the threshold of what the instruments can reliably measure. They note that we do not fully understand the atmospheric chemistry of Hycean worlds, because K2-18b would be the first of its kind ever studied. Perhaps there are non-biological processes on such worlds that could produce dimethyl sulfide. Until we better understand the chemistry of these alien environments, we cannot assume that the rules we have learned on Earth apply elsewhere. Both perspectives are valid, and both are necessary for good science. The excitement drives researchers to look more closely, to gather more data, to push the boundaries of what we can learn. The caution ensures that conclusions are well-founded, that claims are supported by evidence, that the scientific process maintains its integrity. The good news is that we do not have to wait forever for more information. Webb will continue to observe K2-18b, gathering additional data that will help confirm or rule out the dimethyl sulfide detection. Other telescopes will study this world as well, adding their own observations to our growing understanding. Science is a collaborative effort, and K2-18b will be examined from every possible angle in the years to come. It is worth pausing here to consider the broader context of this discovery. K2-18b is not the first exoplanet to generate excitement about the possibility of life. Over the years, several planets have been heralded as potentially habitable, only to turn out to be less promising upon closer examination. Mars, our nearest planetary neighbor, was once thought to possibly harbour life. Early telescope observations seemed to show canals on its surface, which some interpreted as evidence of an advanced civilization. We now know that those canals were optical illusions, and that Mars is a cold, dry, radiation-blasted desert. Life might exist there in some microbial form, perhaps hidden in underground aquifers, but the vision of Martian civilizations was nothing more than wishful thinking. Venus, our other neighbor, was once considered a possible abode for life. Beneath its thick clouds, some imagined swamps and jungles, a world teeming with exotic creatures. We now know that Venus has surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead, pressures crushing enough to destroy any spacecraft, and an atmosphere of corrosive sulfuric acid. Recent claims of phosphine gas in Venus's atmosphere, another potential biosignature, have been contested and remain unresolved. Europa, a moon of Jupiter, has long been considered one of the most promising places in our solar system to search for life. This ice-covered world almost certainly has a liquid ocean beneath its frozen surface, warmed by tidal heating from Jupiter's immense gravity. Where there is liquid water, there might be life. Missions are being planned to explore Europa more closely, but for now, we can only speculate about what might swim in its hidden seas. Enceladus, a small moon of Saturn, has also captured the imagination of astrobiologists. Geysers of water vapor erupt from its south polar region, shooting material from its subsurface ocean into space. Spacecraft have flown through these plumes and analyzed their composition, finding complex organic molecules. Enceladus might be the easiest place in the solar system to test for the presence of extraterrestrial life, since we can literally sample its ocean without landing. K2-T18b joins this list of tantalizing candidates. What makes it unique is the combination of its nature as a possible Hycean world and the tentative detection of a specific biosignature molecule. If the dimethyl sulfide detection is confirmed, K2-18b would leap to the top of the list of places where life might exist beyond Earth. But even if the detection is not confirmed, K2-18b has already taught us valuable lessons. It has shown us that Hycean worlds may be real, that ocean planets with hydrogen atmospheres might be common throughout the galaxy. It has demonstrated the power of the James Webb Space Telescope to probe the atmospheres of distant worlds in unprecedented detail. And it has reminded us that the search for life is a long, patient endeavor, full of hints and clues that must be carefully evaluated. Let us think for a moment about what it would mean if life were confirmed to exist on K2-18b. How would such a discovery change our understanding of the universe and our place within it? First and most obviously, it would prove that Earth is not unique. For all of human history, our planet has been the only place we know of where life exists. Every creature, every plant, every microbe has its home here, on this small blue dot floating in space. To discover that life had independently arisen on another world would shatter this singularity. We would know, definitively, that life is not a cosmic accident, a one-time miracle that happened only once in all the vast universe. Instead, we would know that life is a natural outcome of planetary processes, something that arises wherever conditions allow. The philosophical implications would be profound. Many of the world's religions and spiritual traditions place special emphasis on Earth as a unique creation, the one place in the cosmos where life was deliberately placed. The discovery of extraterrestrial life would challenge these beliefs, forcing us to reconsider our understanding of our place in the grand scheme of things. This is not to say that such a discovery would disprove any religious beliefs, only that it would require new thinking, new interpretations, new ways of understanding ancient wisdom. Scientifically, the discovery would open entirely new fields of inquiry. We would want to know everything about this alien life. What is it made of? Does it use the same biochemistry as Earth life, with DNA and proteins and cellular structures? Or has it found a completely different way to organize matter into living systems? How did it arise? Did it evolve in ways similar to life on Earth? Or has it followed entirely different paths? Are there multiple species or just one? Is there intelligence? Of course, we must be realistic about what we can actually learn from 120 light years away. Even with the most powerful telescopes imaginable, we cannot see individual organisms on K2-18b. We can only detect the chemical traces they leave in the atmosphere. If life exists there, it will remain mysterious, a presence we know of but cannot see, cannot touch, cannot directly study, at least not with current technology. Still, even indirect evidence of life would be transformative. It would tell us that life is out there somewhere, and that would change everything. The search for life would intensify. Resources would pour into astrobiology. New telescopes would be built, new missions launched, new questions asked. The universe would feel less empty, less lonely, more alive. And perhaps, just perhaps, it would inspire us to take better care of the life we already know exists. Earth is filled with wonders, with creatures strange and beautiful, with ecosystems complex beyond our full understanding. If we knew that life was precious enough to arise on distant worlds, perhaps we would cherish it more here at home. But let us not get ahead of ourselves. The detection of dimethyl sulfide on K2-18b remains tentative. More work is needed before we can draw any conclusions. Science moves slowly, carefully, one small step at a time. That is its strength. It is why we can trust scientific findings, why we can build technologies and medicines and understanding based on what science tells us. The same careful process that has brought us this far will guide us forward. So where does that leave us tonight? We have traveled 120 light years in our imagination to a world that might be covered by a single endless ocean, a world with a thick hydrogen atmosphere, a world where something, perhaps living things, might be producing the same molecule that drifts above our own oceans. We have considered the evidence, weighed the possibilities, and looked at what this might mean for our understanding of the universe. K2-18b remains a mystery, as all good mysteries should. We have clues, we have hints, but we do not have answers. Not yet. The James Webb Space Telescope will continue its observations. Scientists will analyze the data. Papers will be written, debates will be had, and slowly, gradually, our understanding will grow. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, consider this. Somewhere out there, 120 light years away, a world is orbiting a dim red star. That world might have an ocean. That ocean might be full of life. We cannot know for certain, not yet, but the possibility is real, supported by data from the most powerful telescope ever built. And consider this as well. Whatever the truth about K2-18b turns out to be, we live in an age of wonders. We have built machines that can peer across the vast distances of space and tell us what molecules exist in the atmospheres of alien worlds. We have discovered that planets are not rare, that they orbit virtually every star in the sky, that the universe is teeming with worlds we have never seen and may never visit. We have learned that habitability may take many forms, that life might flourish in environments very different from our own. The search for life beyond Earth is one of the great adventures of our time. It is a quest that spans centuries, from the first speculations of ancient philosophers to the cutting-edge observations of modern telescopes. We are part of that quest, living in an age when real answers might finally be within reach. Whether K2-18b harbors life or not, it has already given us something valuable. It has reminded us to look up, to wonder, to ask the big questions. It has shown us that the universe still has surprises in store, that we have not yet discovered all there is to discover. It has given us hope that we might not be alone. And that hope, however tentative, however uncertain, is a beautiful thing to carry with you into the night. Now let us continue our journey deeper into the science of K2-18b. There is much more to explore about this fascinating world, and the quiet hours of the night are perfect for such contemplation. We have talked about what dimethyl sulfide is and why its potential detection is so significant. But let us take a closer look at the other molecules found in K2-18b's atmosphere and what they tell us about the planet's nature. Carbon dioxide, one of the molecules confidently detected by Webb, is familiar to all of us. Every breath you exhale contains carbon dioxide, a waste product of your metabolism. Plants take in carbon dioxide and use sunlight to convert it into sugars, releasing oxygen in the process. On Earth, carbon dioxide makes up only a tiny fraction of our atmosphere, about 0.04%, but it plays an outsized role in regulating our planet's temperature. Finding carbon dioxide on K2-18b was expected, but still informative. It tells us that this world has an atmosphere with complex chemistry, not just a simple envelope of hydrogen and helium. Carbon dioxide can form through many processes. It can be released by volcanoes, produced by the oxidation of organic matter, or created through chemical reactions in the atmosphere itself. Its presence on K2-18b is consistent with a world that has active chemistry, a world where interesting things are happening. Methane is perhaps more intriguing. This simple molecule, made of one carbon atom, bonded to 4 hydrogen atoms, is the main component of natural gas here on Earth. It is also a powerful greenhouse gas, trapping heat in the atmosphere far more effectively than carbon dioxide. On Earth, methane is produced by both living things and geological processes. Certain bacteria, called methanogens, produce methane as a byproduct of their metabolism. Cattle produce methane as they digest their food. Wetlands release methane as organic matter decomposes. But methane can also be released from the Earth's interior, produced by chemical reactions involving water and rock. The combination of methane and carbon dioxide in K2-18b's atmosphere is interesting because, under certain conditions, these two molecules can react with each other and should not coexist for long. The fact that both are present suggests that something is actively replenishing them. On Earth, that something is largely life. Whether the same is true on K2-18b remains to be determined. The apparent absence of ammonia is perhaps the most telling observation. Ammonia is a pungent molecule made of nitrogen and hydrogen. If K2-18b were a small version of Neptune, essentially a ball of gas and ice with no solid surface, we would expect ammonia to be a significant component of its atmosphere. The fact that Webb did not detect ammonia supports the idea that K2-18b is something different, something more exotic than a simple gas planet. Scientists have proposed several possible explanations for the lack of ammonia. The most exciting possibility is that ammonia is being dissolved into the ocean below. In a Hycean world, with a vast liquid ocean covering the entire surface, gases from the atmosphere would naturally dissolve into the water. Ammonia is highly soluble in water, far more so than many other gases. If K2-18b has a deep ocean, that ocean might be acting like a giant sponge, absorbing the ammonia and removing it from the atmosphere. This interpretation, if correct, provides strong evidence for the Hycean model. It suggests that K2-18b is not just a ball of gas, but a layered world with a distinct atmosphere and a separate ocean beneath. This is exactly the kind of environment where life might potentially thrive. Of course, there are other possible explanations that do not involve an ocean. The atmospheric chemistry of a planet depends on many factors, including the temperature, the pressure, the composition of the original materials from which the planet formed, and the radiation environment from the host star. It is possible that some combination of these factors could explain the lack of ammonia without invoking an ocean. But the Hycean interpretation remains the most compelling explanation that fits all the available data. Let us think more about what a Hycean ocean might be like. If K2-18b truly has a global ocean beneath its hydrogen atmosphere, that ocean would be unlike any body of water on Earth. First, consider the depth. Earth's oceans average about 2.3 miles deep, with the deepest point, the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, reaching nearly 7 miles. A Hycean ocean might be tens or even hundreds of miles deep, dwarfing Earth's oceans in scale. At such depths, the pressure would be immense, far beyond anything in our experience. The chemistry of a Hycean ocean would also be unusual. With a thick hydrogen atmosphere above, hydrogen gas would dissolve into the water, potentially creating chemical conditions very different from Earth's oceans. The ocean might be rich in dissolved hydrogen, which could provide energy for certain types of life. On Earth, some bacteria thrive by using hydrogen as an energy source. If similar organisms existed on K2-18b, they would find a world perfectly suited to their needs. The temperature of the ocean is harder to predict. It depends on how much heat reaches the surface from the star, how much heat is retained by the atmosphere, and how much heat rises from the planet's interior. Some scientists have suggested that a Hycean ocean could have temperatures comfortable for life as we know it, perhaps ranging from near freezing to warm but not boiling. Other models suggest that the ocean might be quite hot, heated by the thick insulating atmosphere above. The truth is, we simply do not know enough yet to say for certain. What we can say is that liquid, water, whatever its exact temperature, provides an environment where complex chemistry can happen. Water is sometimes called the universal solvent because so many substances dissolve in it. This allows molecules to move around, encounter each other, and react. Life on Earth depends on this property of water. Every cell in your body is filled with water, and the chemical reactions that keep you alive happen in that watery environment. If K2-18b has liquid water, it has the basic requirement for chemistry complex enough to potentially support life. But would life actually arise in such an environment? This is one of the deepest questions in science, and we do not have a definitive answer. We know that life arose on Earth relatively quickly after our planet formed. Within perhaps a few 100 million years of Earth's cooling enough to have liquid, water, life was present. This suggests that life, given the right conditions, might arise fairly easily. But we have only one example, our own planet, and we cannot generalize from a single data point. Some scientists speculate that life might be common in the universe, arising wherever liquid water persists for long enough. Others argue that life's origin was a fluke, a 1 in a trillion event that happened on Earth by sheer chance. The truth might lie somewhere in between. Perhaps life arises fairly often, but only on planets that meet certain specific criteria. Perhaps those criteria are broader than we think, allowing life to flourish on worlds very different from Earth. K2-18b might be the key to answering these questions. If life does exist on K2-18b, what might it look like? Here we enter the realm of speculation, but it is informed speculation based on our understanding of biology and chemistry. On Earth, the earliest forms of life were single-celled microorganisms, simple bacteria, and archaea that thrived in the oceans billions of years ago. For most of life's history on Earth, single-celled organisms were the only inhabitants. Complex multicellular life, the plants and animals we see today, arose much later, only in the last billion years or so. Life on K2-18b, if it exists, might be similarly simple. Single-celled organisms floating in the ocean or drifting in the atmosphere would be the most likely form of life to exist on a young or isolated world. These organisms might be producers, using energy from the star's light to build organic molecules, much like phytoplankton in Earth's oceans. If dimethyl sulfide is indeed present in K2-18b's atmosphere, it might be produced by such organisms as a byproduct of their metabolism. More complex life cannot be ruled out, but it would be surprising given what we know. Complex life requires not just time, but also the right environmental conditions and perhaps a degree of luck. The evolution of multicellular organisms on Earth depended on many factors, including changes in atmospheric oxygen levels, mass extinctions that opened ecological niches, and countless other contingencies. Whether similar factors would operate on K2-18b is impossible to say. What we can say is that even simple microbial life would be an extraordinary discovery. The detection of any form of life beyond Earth would be one of the most significant scientific findings in history. It would answer, at least partially, the ancient question of whether we are alone, and it would open up entirely new avenues of research as scientists worked to understand the nature and evolution of this alien biology. Let us take a moment to appreciate the enormity of what we are discussing. We are talking about the possibility that somewhere in the universe, on a world we can barely see, living things might exist. We are talking about alien life, not in a science fiction movie, but in reality, detected by real instruments and analyzed by real scientists. The very fact that we can have this conversation, that we can seriously discuss the detection of potential biosignatures on exoplanets, is a testament to how far human knowledge has come. A century ago, we did not even know for certain that other galaxies existed. The universe seemed smaller, more comprehensible, perhaps more manageable. Today, we know that the universe contains hundreds of billions of galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars, many of those stars orbited by planets. The scale is almost beyond comprehension, and yet, with our telescopes and our instruments and our mathematics, we can reach across that vastness and learn about worlds we will never visit. K2-18b is one tiny dot among countless trillions of worlds, but for the moment, it has our attention. It has whispered something to us across 120 light-years of space, a chemical message that might or might not indicate the presence of life. We are listening, analyzing, trying to understand. This is what it means to be human, to wonder, to investigate, to seek answers to the deepest questions. Now, let us turn to the practical aspects of studying K2-18b. How do scientists actually analyze the data from the James Webb Space Telescope, and what challenges do they face? The basic technique, as we mentioned earlier, is called transmission spectroscopy. When K2-18b passes in front of its star, a small amount of starlight filters through the planet's atmosphere. This light carries information about the molecules present in that atmosphere. By splitting the light into its component wavelengths and measuring the intensity at each wavelength, scientists can identify which molecules are absorbing the light. This sounds straightforward in principle, but in practice it is incredibly difficult. The amount of starlight that passes through the planet's atmosphere is tiny, a fraction of a percent of the total starlight. Detecting the subtle absorption signatures of specific molecules requires extremely precise measurements and sophisticated analysis techniques. The James Webb Space Telescope is equipped with instruments designed for exactly this purpose. The Near-Infrared Imager and Slitless Spectrograph, called NIRIS, and the Near-Infrared Spectrograph, called NIRSpec, can spread out the light from a star into a spectrum and measure the intensity at thousands of different wavelengths. When K2-18b transits its star, these instruments record how the spectrum changes, revealing the fingerprints of atmospheric molecules. But the raw data is just the beginning. Scientists must then process and analyze the data, removing instrumental artifacts, accounting for systematic effects, and modeling the expected signals from different atmospheric compositions. This requires specialized software, statistical techniques, and a deep understanding of both the instruments and the physics involved. The tentative detection of dimethyl sulfide illustrates the challenges involved. The signal attributed to this molecule is small, near the limit of what the instruments can detect. To determine whether the signal is real or just noise, scientists must carefully assess all possible sources of error. They must consider whether the signal could be caused by some instrumental effect, whether it might be contaminated by other molecules with similar absorption features, and whether the statistical analysis is robust. This is why the detection is described as tentative. The scientists who made the discovery are confident that they see something in the data that looks like dimethyl sulfide, but they are not certain that this something is real. More observations will help clarify the situation. If the signal appears consistently in multiple independent observations, that would strengthen the case for its reality. If it disappears or changes unpredictably, that would suggest it might be an artifact. The scientific process is designed to handle exactly this kind of uncertainty. Results are published. Other scientists analyze the data independently. Debates occur, and eventually a consensus emerges. This can take years, even decades, but the end result is knowledge that has been tested and verified, knowledge that we can trust. While we wait for more observations and analyses, let us continue to explore the broader context of the search for extraterrestrial life. K2-18b is just one target among many, and the search is proceeding on multiple fronts. Within our own solar system, several missions are planned or underway to search for signs of life. NASA's Europa Clipper mission, scheduled for launch, will study Jupiter's moon Europa in detail, characterizing its ice shell and subsurface ocean. The European Space Agency's JUICE mission is already on its way to the Jupiter system, where it will study multiple moons including Ganymede, which also appears to have a subsurface ocean. Mars continues to be a focus of exploration. The Perseverance rover is currently collecting samples that will, eventually, be returned to Earth for analysis. These samples might contain signs of ancient Martian life, preserved in the rock since the planet was warmer and wetter billions of years ago. Other missions are planned to explore Martian caves and search for liquid water beneath the surface. Enceladus, Saturn's icy moon, with its erupting geysers, is a high-priority target for future missions. Several mission concepts have been proposed that would fly through Enceladus's plumes and directly sample the material for signs of life. Such a mission could potentially provide definitive evidence of extraterrestrial life within our own solar system. Beyond our solar system, the James Webb Space Telescope is just beginning its exploration of exoplanet atmospheres. K2-18b is one of many targets that will be studied in the coming years. Other potentially habitable worlds are on the list, including planets in the TRAPPIST-1 system, a nearby red dwarf star that hosts 7 Earth-sized planets, several of which lie in the habitable zone. Future telescopes will push the boundaries even further. Concepts for extremely large ground-based telescopes and space-based instruments could potentially detect biosignatures on planets around Sun-like stars, expanding the search beyond red dwarf systems. The next few decades could be a golden age for astrobiology, with discoveries that reshape our understanding of life in the universe. As you contemplate these possibilities, let your mind drift through the vastness of space. Imagine the countless worlds out there, orbiting stars we have never seen, in galaxies we have never named. Some of those worlds might be barren rocks, scorched by radiation or frozen in eternal darkness, but some, perhaps many, might be places where life has found a way. Oceans might teem with strange creatures. Forests of alien plants might sway in unfamiliar winds. Civilizations might rise and fall without ever knowing that we exist. We are connected to all of this in some deep way. The atoms that make up your body were forged in the hearts of stars that exploded billions of years ago. The carbon in your cells, the oxygen in your blood, the iron in your bones, all of it was created in stellar furnaces scattered throughout the galaxy. You are made of star stuff, as Carl Sagan famously said, and that star stuff has organized itself here on Earth into a form that can contemplate its own origins and wonder about life elsewhere. This is the beauty and mystery of existence. We are the universe becoming aware of itself, asking questions about its own nature. The search for life beyond Earth is part of that grand inquiry, a way of extending our awareness outward to encompass more of the cosmos. Whether we find life on K2-18b or some other world, the search itself is valuable. It reminds us of our connection to the wider universe and our responsibility to understand it. Let us return now to K2-L18b and think about what the future might hold for our understanding of this world. Over the next few years, the James Webb Space Telescope will continue to observe K2-18b during its transits. Each observation will add more data, refining our understanding of the planet's atmosphere. The detection of dimethyl sulfide will either be confirmed or shown to be an artifact. Either result would be valuable. If dimethyl sulfide is confirmed, the scientific community will leap into action. New models will be developed to explain how this molecule could be present. Researchers will work to determine whether any non-biological process could produce dimethyl sulfide under Hycean conditions. If no such process can be found, the case for life will strengthen. If a non-biological explanation is discovered, it will be an important scientific finding in its own right. Even without dimethyl sulfide, K2-18b will remain a fascinating world worthy of study. As the first potential Hycean planet ever identified, it represents a new category of environment that could be common throughout the galaxy. Understanding its atmospheric chemistry, its internal structure, and its potential for habitability will teach us valuable lessons about the diversity of worlds. Other instruments might contribute to our understanding of K2-18b as well. Large ground-based telescopes equipped with adaptive optics and high-resolution spectrographs can provide complementary observations. Future space telescopes, still in the planning stages, might be able to study K2-18b in even greater detail than Webb can achieve. And perhaps, someday far in the future, we might send a probe to K2-18b itself. This is pure speculation, of course. With current technology, a journey of 120 light-years is impossible. But technology advances, often in unexpected ways. A century ago, the idea of a telescope orbiting 1,000,000 miles from Earth would have seemed like fantasy. Today, it is reality. Who can say what will be possible a century from now, or 1,000 years from now? For tonight, let us be content with what we have. We have a world 120 light-years away that might harbor an ocean. We have a tentative detection of a molecule that, on Earth, is produced by life. We have the most powerful telescope ever built, watching and waiting, gathering data that might one day answer the question of whether we are alone. That is enough. That is more than enough. It is a gift to live in a time when such things are possible. The night deepens around you, the stars wheel overhead, and somewhere out there K2-18b continues its endless orbit around a dim red star. What secrets does it hold? What wonders might it contain? We do not know yet, but we are looking. We are always looking. Let this be a comfort to you as sleep approaches. The universe is vast and full of mysteries, but we are not content to leave those mysteries unexamined. We build telescopes, we gather data, we ask questions, we seek understanding. This is our nature, our calling, our purpose. And tonight, as you close your eyes, you can know that this great work continues, even as you rest. The search goes on, the questions remain, and somewhere, maybe, life awaits discovery. Let us continue now with more details about the scientific community's work on K2-18b and how the discovery fits into the broader field of exoplanet research. The study of exoplanet atmospheres is still a relatively young field. For most of human history, we knew only of the planets in our own solar system. It was not until 1992 that the first exoplanets were confirmed, orbiting a pulsar, the rapidly spinning remnant of a dead star. A few years later, in 1995, the first exoplanet around a Sun-like star was discovered, a hot Jupiter called 51 Pegasi b that orbits impossibly close to its parent star. Since those early discoveries, the field has exploded. Thousands of exoplanets have been found using a variety of techniques. Some are detected by the slight wobble they induce in their host stars as they orbit. Others are found when they pass in front of their stars, blocking a tiny fraction of the light. Still others have been directly imaged, captured as faint points of light next to their brilliant host stars. But finding exoplanets is just the first step. To truly understand these worlds, we need to characterize them, to learn about their sizes, masses, compositions, and atmospheres. This is where telescopes like James Webb become essential. They allow us to move beyond simple detection and begin the detailed study of alien worlds. K2-18b sits in a sweet spot for atmospheric characterization. It is large enough that its atmosphere extends high above the planet's surface, making it easier to detect the absorption signatures of atmospheric molecules. It orbits a relatively bright star, providing enough light for precise measurements, and it transits its star from our perspective, giving us regular opportunities to observe its atmosphere backlit by starlight. Not all exoplanets are so convenient. Many orbit stars that are too dim for detailed study. Others do not transit their stars, making atmospheric characterization much more difficult. Still others have atmospheres too thin or too cloudy to reveal their compositions. K2-18b, almost by accident, turns out to be an ideal target for Webb's capabilities. The research team that analyzed the Webb data on K2-18b was led by Niku Madhusudan, an astrophysicist at the University of Cambridge, who has spent years studying exoplanet atmospheres. Madhusudan's team used sophisticated computer models to interpret the spectral data, comparing the observed patterns with theoretical predictions for various atmospheric compositions. It was through this painstaking process that they identified the presence of carbon dioxide and methane and the tentative presence of dimethyl sulfide. Publishing these results took courage. The detection of a potential biosignature is guaranteed to generate headlines and attract scrutiny. Every claim must be carefully worded, every uncertainty acknowledged. The scientific community will pore over the data, looking for errors, proposing alternative explanations. This is how it should be. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and the claim that a biosignature has been detected on an exoplanet is about as extraordinary as claims get. Madhusudan and colleagues were careful in their presentation. They described the dimethyl sulfide detection as tentative and emphasized the need for additional observations. They acknowledged that non-biological explanations might exist, even though none are currently known. They laid out the evidence as clearly as they could and invited the scientific community to evaluate it. The response has been varied, as expected. Some astronomers are excited, seeing the detection as a significant step toward the possible discovery of extraterrestrial life. Others are skeptical, pointing to the weakness of the signal and the difficulties of interpreting atmospheric spectra. Both reactions are valuable. The excitement drives further investigation, while the skepticism ensures that standards remain high. In the months since the initial announcement, additional analyses have been conducted. Some have supported the original findings, while others have raised questions. This is normal for a result at the frontier of science. The picture will become clearer as more data accumulates. One important consideration is the star that K2-18b orbits. Red dwarf stars, as we mentioned earlier, are different from the Sun in many ways. They are cooler and dimmer, but they also produce more high-energy radiation in the form of ultraviolet light and X-rays, especially when they are young and active. This radiation can strip atmospheres from planets, break apart molecules, and sterilize surfaces. K2-18b star, called K2-18 or IPIC 2019-12552, appears to be relatively quiet for a red dwarf. It does not show signs of extreme stellar activity that would make the planet hostile to life. This is encouraging for the habitability of K2-18b, though more study is needed to understand the radiation environment in detail. Another consideration is the planet's rotation. Planets orbiting red dwarfs at close distances often become tidally locked, meaning one side always faces the star while the other side is in permanent darkness. This would create extreme temperature differences between the day and night sides, which could have significant effects on the climate and potential habitability. Whether K2-18b is tidally locked is not yet known with certainty. If it is, the day side might be bathed in constant dim reddish light, while the night side would be in eternal darkness. Winds might howl between the two hemispheres, driven by the temperature difference. The ocean, if it exists, might be liquid on one side and frozen on the other, with a ring of potentially habitable zone in between. These are the kinds of details that make exoplanet science so fascinating. Every world is different, shaped by its own unique combination of circumstances. Studying K2-18b teaches us not just about this one planet, but about the range of possible planetary environments, the diversity of conditions that might exist on worlds throughout the galaxy. As the night continues and sleep approaches, let us think about the human side of this story. Behind the data and the analysis are real people, scientists who have dedicated their careers to understanding the universe. They work long hours, poring over complex datasets, debating interpretations with colleagues, facing the disappointment of dead ends and the thrill of discoveries. The search for extraterrestrial life is, in a sense, a collective human project. It involves astronomers and biologists, chemists and physicists, engineers and programmers. It requires international cooperation, as telescopes around the world contribute observations and scientists from different countries collaborate on analysis. It is funded by governments and supported by the public, reflecting a shared human curiosity about our place in the cosmos. This is worth celebrating. In an era when it sometimes seems like humanity is divided, the search for life beyond Earth reminds us that we share a common home and a common wonder. We are all residents of this small planet, looking out at the stars and asking the same questions. Whether we find life on K2-18b or elsewhere, the search brings us together. The story of K2-18b is not over. It is in many ways just beginning. The data gathered so far is a first glimpse, a tantalizing hint of what might be. The years ahead will bring more observations, better instruments, deeper understanding. We might confirm that dimethyl sulfide is present, or we might conclude that the detection was an illusion. Either way, we will learn something valuable. And beyond K2-18b, countless other worlds await investigation. Some might be rocky planets like Earth, with thin atmospheres and solid surfaces. Others might be gas giants, ocean worlds, rogue planets wandering between the stars, or environments we have not yet imagined. Each one is a potential discovery, a chance to expand our knowledge and perhaps find evidence of life. This is the great adventure of our time. It unfolds slowly, over years and decades, but it is happening. Right now, as you lie in the quiet of the night, telescopes are watching the skies, computers are processing data, scientists are thinking hard about what it all means. The search continues without pause. You are part of this story, in a way. By wondering about these things, by caring about the answers, you participate in the human project of understanding. You do not need to be a scientist to appreciate the beauty and significance of what we are learning. You need only look up at the stars and let yourself be filled with wonder. K2-18b is out there, orbiting its dim red star, possibly harboring an ocean, possibly sheltering life. We are watching, we are learning, and whatever we discover, it will be a gift to know. Let your mind drift now, outward through the darkness, past the moon and planets, past the edge of our solar system, into the deep ocean of stars. Somewhere in that vastness is K2-18b, waiting to be understood, and somewhere, perhaps on that world or others, life might be looking back at us, wondering about the strangers in the sky. Sleep well, knowing that the universe is full of wonders, and that we are lucky enough to be seeking them out. The search goes on, and it is beautiful. Now let us delve even deeper into the science and philosophy surrounding this discovery, exploring the implications and the many fascinating questions that arise. One of the most profound aspects of the K2-18b discovery is what it suggests about the prevalence of Hycean worlds. Before this observation, the concept of a Hycean planet was largely theoretical. Scientists had proposed that such worlds might exist, based on modeling and calculations, but there was no observational evidence to support the idea. K2-18b appears to be the first candidate, providing real data that can be compared against theoretical predictions. If K2-18b is indeed a Hycean world, it raises an intriguing possibility. Hycean planets might be common throughout the galaxy. The conditions required for such a world to form do not seem particularly unusual. A planet needs to be large enough to retain a substantial hydrogen atmosphere, but not so large that it becomes a full-fledged gas giant. It needs to orbit within the habitable zone of its star, where temperatures allow liquid water to exist, and it needs some mechanism to acquire a vast amount of water, either from the materials present during its formation or delivered later by impacts from water-rich objects. These conditions might be met on many planets throughout the galaxy. If so, Hycean worlds could represent a large category of potentially habitable environments that we have not previously considered. The traditional focus on Earth-like planets might be too narrow. The universe might be filled with ocean worlds, each one a possible home for life, each one a target for future investigation. This is an exciting prospect because Hycean worlds might actually be easier to study than Earth-like planets. Their thick hydrogen atmospheres create strong absorption features that can be detected from great distances. Their larger sizes make them easier to find and characterize. If Hycean planets commonly harbor life, we might be able to detect that life even with current technology, as the K2I-18b observations suggest. Of course, there are also challenges to life on a Hycean world. The thick hydrogen atmosphere might create surface pressures much higher than anything on Earth. The deep ocean might be subject to extreme conditions, with pressures that would crush any organism known to us. The lack of a solid surface might limit the kinds of ecosystems that could develop, but life on Earth has proven remarkably adaptable. Organisms thrive in hot springs, in deep-sea vents, in Antarctic ice, and in acidic pools. Life finds a way to exploit almost any environment where liquid water and energy sources exist. If life can arise under the conditions of a Hycean world, it would likely adapt to whatever challenges that environment presents. Let us think more about the molecule at the center of this discovery, dimethyl sulfide. Understanding this molecule and its significance requires a brief journey into the field of biogeochemistry, the study of how living things interact with the chemistry of their environment. On Earth, the sulfur cycle is one of the fundamental biogeochemical cycles that shape our planet's environment. Sulfur moves between the atmosphere, the oceans, the rocks, and living organisms in a complex dance that has been going on for billions of years. Dimethyl sulfide is a key player in this cycle, particularly in the marine environment. Phytoplankton, the tiny plant-like organisms that drift through the sunlit layers of the ocean, produce a compound called dimethyl sulfonneopropionate, which we can abbreviate as DMSP. This compound serves various functions for the phytoplankton, including protecting them from stress and regulating their internal chemistry. When the phytoplankton die, or when they are eaten by other organisms, DMSP is released into the water and broken down by bacteria into dimethyl sulfide. The dimethyl sulfide then escapes from the ocean surface into the atmosphere, where it can be detected. In the atmosphere, dimethyl sulfide undergoes chemical reactions that ultimately produce sulfate particles, which can serve as cloud condensation nuclei. This means that phytoplankton, through their production of DMSP and its conversion to dimethyl sulfide, actually influence cloud formation and climate on Earth. This intricate connection between life and climate is one of the remarkable features of our planet. Living things are not just passive inhabitants of Earth. They actively shape the environment in ways that affect everything from the composition of the atmosphere to the patterns of rainfall. This is what James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis called the Gaia hypothesis, the idea that Earth's living organisms and their inorganic surroundings form a complex, self-regulating system. If dimethyl sulfide is present on K2-18b, it would suggest a similar connection between life and environment on that distant world. Alien phytoplankton, or whatever organisms produce the molecule there, would be shaping their planet's atmosphere just as Earth's phytoplankton shape ours. They would be participants in their world's chemistry, not just inhabitants of it. This is a profound thought. If life exists on K2-18b, it is not merely surviving there. It is actively influencing the planetary environment. The atmosphere we observe is, in part, a product of living activity. The world is alive in the deepest sense, with life integrated into the very chemistry of the planet. But we must be careful not to jump to conclusions. The detection of dimethyl sulfide remains tentative, and even if confirmed, there might be explanations we have not yet imagined. Science proceeds by ruling out possibilities one by one, not by leaping to the most exciting conclusion. The work ahead will involve carefully testing the biological hypothesis against every conceivable alternative. One key question is whether there are any non-biological processes that could produce dimethyl sulfide under the conditions present on K2-18b. On Earth, no significant non-biological source of dimethyl sulfide is known. The molecule is produced almost exclusively by living organisms. But K2-18b is not Earth, and its chemistry might work differently. Red dwarf stars emit a different spectrum of light than the Sun, with more radiation at certain wavelengths. This could drive photochemical reactions in the atmosphere that do not occur on Earth. The high concentrations of hydrogen in the atmosphere create a reducing chemical environment, very different from Earth's oxidizing atmosphere. Under these conditions, chemical pathways that are impossible on Earth might become possible. Scientists are already working on this question, developing computer models of atmospheric chemistry under Hycean conditions and looking for any reaction that could produce dimethyl sulfide without life. So far, no such reaction has been identified, but the search continues. If a non-biological source is found, it would weaken the case for life on K2-18b. If no such source can be found, the biological hypothesis will become more compelling. Another approach is to look for multiple biosignatures simultaneously. If dimethyl sulfide is produced by life on K2-18b, we would expect other signs of biological activity as well. The presence of certain combinations of gases or certain ratios of isotopes might provide additional evidence for or against the biological hypothesis. The James Webb Space Telescope and future instruments will continue to probe K2-18b's atmosphere, looking for these additional clues. The history of science is filled with examples where initial exciting discoveries turned out to have mundane explanations, and other examples where skepticism gave way to acceptance as evidence accumulated. The discovery of pulsars, for instance, was initially attributed by some to signals from alien civilizations before being correctly identified as rapidly rotating neutron stars. The detection of cosmic microwave background radiation was initially mistaken for instrumental noise before being recognized as the afterglow of the Big Bang. K2-18b might follow either pattern. It might turn out to be a false alarm, a case where initial excitement gives way to a more prosaic explanation. Or it might be the real thing, the first detection of extraterrestrial life, vindicated as additional evidence accumulates. We cannot know which outcome will occur. We can only follow the evidence wherever it leads. This uncertainty is not a weakness of science. It is its strength. Science does not claim to provide final answers. It provides our best current understanding, always subject to revision as new evidence comes in. This humility before the facts is what makes science trustworthy. When scientists say that the detection of dimethyl sulfide is tentative, they are being honest about what they know and what they do not know. This honesty should give us confidence that whatever conclusions are eventually reached will be well-founded. Let us turn now to a different aspect of this story, the human experience of contemplating these vast questions. How does it feel to think about the possibility of life on distant worlds? What does it mean for us as individuals and as a species? For many people, the thought of extraterrestrial life evokes a sense of wonder and excitement. The universe feels less empty, less cold, when we imagine that other beings might be out there, experiencing existence in their own way. Even if we never communicate with them, never learn their history or culture, simply knowing that they exist would be meaningful. We would not be alone in the great darkness between the stars. For others, the thought evokes a sense of smallness or even fear. The universe is already incomprehensibly vast. Adding other intelligent beings to the picture might make us feel even more insignificant. What does it matter what happens on one small planet when life might be teeming throughout the cosmos? And if other civilizations exist, might they pose a threat to us? These concerns have been explored extensively in science fiction and in serious academic discussions. Both reactions are valid, and both reflect something true about the human condition. We are small creatures in a vast universe, and we are simultaneously miraculous, the universe becoming aware of itself. Finding life elsewhere would not change these fundamental truths. It would only deepen our appreciation of them. Perhaps the most profound effect of discovering extraterrestrial life would be on our sense of identity. For all of human history, we have defined ourselves in relation to other humans and to other species on Earth. We have created cultures, religions, philosophies, and art that are deeply rooted in the experience of being human on this particular planet. The discovery of alien life would not erase these traditions, but it would put them in a new context. We would have to think about what it means to be human when there are other kinds of beings in the universe. We would have to consider whether our values and beliefs have any universal validity, or whether they are just one possible response to existence among many. We would have to grapple with questions of cosmic significance that have until now been largely theoretical. This might be uncomfortable, but it would also be enriching. Every time our horizons have expanded, from realizing that Earth is not the center of the universe to understanding our evolutionary kinship with all life on this planet, we have ultimately come to a deeper and more mature understanding of ourselves. Finding extraterrestrial life would be another such moment of growth. The night has grown quiet around you, and these thoughts can drift through your mind like clouds across the sky. There is no need to resolve them now. These are questions for the ages, questions that humanity will continue to ponder for as long as we exist. Let them be part of the gentle background of your contemplation as sleep approaches. K2 18b waits, orbiting its red star, possibly harboring secrets we can barely imagine. The James Webb Space Telescope watches, gathering photons that have traveled 120 years across space to reach its golden mirror. Scientists analyze, debate, wonder, and work toward understanding. And you, lying in the peaceful darkness, are connected to all of this through your curiosity and your wonder. This is the great chain of exploration that stretches back through human history and forward into the unknown future. From the first humans who looked up at the stars and wondered what they were, to the astronomers of today peering at the atmospheres of distant worlds, We are all part of the same quest. The questions are ancient, but the tools are new, and for the first time, real answers might be within reach. Whether or not K2-18b harbors life, the search will continue. Other worlds await discovery. Other biosignatures might be found. The universe is full of possibilities, and we have barely begun to explore them. This is cause for hope, for excitement, for wonder. And now, as your eyelids grow heavy and your thoughts begin to soften into dreams, carry with you the image of that distant world, blue and hazy beneath its hydrogen sky, orbiting a red sun, possibly alive with creatures we have never imagined. It is out there, part of the same universe you inhabit, connected to you by the same laws of physics, the same chemistry, the same fundamental nature of reality. You are not alone in the universe. Even if K2-18b proves barren, there are billions upon billions of other worlds, some of which almost certainly harbor life. The cosmos is not empty. It is teeming with potential, with possibility, with the raw materials for wonder. Rest now, and let these thoughts settle into peaceful dreams. The search continues, the questions remain, and the universe awaits. Tomorrow is another day, and the mysteries of K2-18b will still be there, patiently waiting to be understood. For now, sleep well, and know that the great adventure goes on. The story of how we came to understand exoplanets is itself a remarkable tale, one worth recounting as you drift towards sleep. It is a story of human ingenuity, of technological progress, of ideas that seemed impossible becoming reality. For most of human history, the existence of planets around other stars was a matter of speculation, rather than knowledge. Ancient philosophers debated whether other worlds might exist, but they had no way to test their ideas. The stars appeared as fixed points of light, revealing nothing about any companions that might orbit them. The first serious attempts to detect exoplanets began in the 20th century, using techniques that measured tiny changes in a star's motion or brightness. These early efforts were plagued by false positives and controversial claims. It was not until 1992 that the first confirmed exoplanets were discovered, and these were found around a pulsar, the exotic remnant of a supernova explosion, not a normal star like our Sun. The detection of 51 Pegasi b in 1995 changed everything. Here was a planet orbiting a Sun-like star, proof that other planetary systems existed. The discovery sparked a rush of further observations, and within a few years, dozens of exoplanets had been found. The universe, it turned out, was far more planet-rich than skeptics had imagined. The Kepler Space Telescope, launched in 2009, took exoplanet detection to a new level. By staring at a single patch of sky for years, monitoring the brightness of over 150,000 stars, Kepler found thousands of planets. It revealed that planets are common, that Earth-sized planets are not rare, and that the architecture of planetary systems varies widely from one star to another. K2-18b was one of Kepler's discoveries, found during the telescope's extended K2 mission after its original mission was cut short by equipment failures. The planet was identified as interesting because of its size and its location in the habitable zone, but detailed characterization had to wait for more powerful instruments. The James Webb Space Telescope represents the culmination of decades of work by thousands of scientists and engineers. Its development was long and often troubled with cost overruns and technical challenges that threatened to cancel the project entirely. But perseverance won out, and when Webb finally launched in 2021, it exceeded all expectations. Webb's observations of K2-18b are exactly the kind of science the telescope was designed for. The ability to analyze the atmospheres of exoplanets in detail was always a primary goal, and K2-18b is one of the first worlds to benefit from this capability. The results are just the beginning. In the years ahead, Webb will study many more exoplanets, building a catalogue of atmospheric compositions that will reveal patterns and trends we can barely imagine today. What will we learn from this catalogue? Perhaps we will find that certain types of planets commonly have certain types of atmospheres. Perhaps we will identify chemical signatures that are associated with habitability or with the presence of life. Perhaps we will discover entirely new categories of worlds, environments that no one has yet imagined. The possibilities are endless, and the journey of discovery is just beginning. K2-18b has a special place in this story as one of the first exoplanets to show potential signs of life. Whether or not those signs are confirmed, the planet has already contributed to our understanding. It has demonstrated that Hycean worlds may exist, that biosignature detection is possible with current technology, and that the search for extraterrestrial life is not hopeless wishful thinking, but a legitimate scientific endeavor with real chances of success. The scientists who study K2-18b stand on the shoulders of giants, inheriting a legacy of discovery that stretches back centuries, from Copernicus and Galileo, who showed that Earth was not the center of the universe, to Hubble and Sagan, who expanded our view of the cosmos and our place within it. Each generation has contributed to our understanding. The researchers of today are writing the next chapter of this ongoing story. And what of future generations? What will they discover? It is impossible to say, but we can be sure that the story is far from over. New telescopes will be built, new techniques developed, new questions asked. The children being born today might grow up to detect unmistakable signs of life on worlds we have not yet discovered. The grandchildren of those children might make contact with civilizations we cannot imagine. The future stretches out before us, full of possibility. For now, we have K2-18b, a world 120 light-years away that might harbor an ocean, might shelter life, might hold the answer to one of humanity's oldest questions. We are watching it, studying it, trying to understand it. The work is slow and careful, as all good science must be, but it is happening, and you are alive to witness it. This is worth celebrating. Of all the generations that have ever lived, we are among the first to have real evidence about the possible existence of life beyond Earth. We are not merely speculating or dreaming. We are investigating, analyzing, drawing conclusions based on data. The answers, whatever they turn out to be, are coming closer. As sleep approaches, let this thought bring you peace. The universe is not an empty, lifeless void. It is a place of possibility, of complexity, of wonder. And we are here, part of it, aware of it, seeking to understand it. That is a privilege, and it is beautiful. K2-18b continues its orbit, indifferent to our observations but affected by them nonetheless. The light that reaches us carries information, a message from across the cosmic ocean. We have built instruments to read that message, and we are learning to decode it. Whatever it says, whatever truths it reveals, will become part of the human story. Rest now. Tomorrow, the search continues. Scientists will analyze more data, refine their models, debate their interpretations. The James Webb Space Telescope will gather more photons from distant worlds. And K2-18b will be there waiting, its mysteries slowly yielding to human curiosity. You are part of this great endeavor, not because you are a scientist, but because you are human, because you wonder, because you care. That is enough. That is everything. The universe has given rise to beings who can contemplate their own existence, and through that contemplation, the universe comes to know itself, sleep well, and dream of distant oceans under alien skies. The stars are waiting, and so are their secrets. The search goes on, and it is wonderful. Let us now spend some time appreciating the sheer scale of what we are discussing. The distances involved in this story are difficult for the human mind to grasp, but making the effort to comprehend them can deepen our appreciation of the discovery. K2-18b is approximately 120 light-years from Earth. A light-year, as we mentioned earlier, is the distance that light travels in 1 year. Light moves at about 186,282 miles per second, which means it covers nearly 6 trillion miles in a year. Multiply that by 120, and you get a number so large that it loses all practical meaning, roughly 705 trillion miles. To put this in perspective, consider the fastest spacecraft ever launched from Earth. The Parker Solar Probe, currently studying the Sun, has reached speeds of over 400,000 miles per hour, making it the fastest human-made object in history. At that speed, it would still take more than 200,000 years to reach K2-18b. Voyager 1, the most distant spacecraft from Earth, is traveling at about 38,000 miles per hour. At that speed, the journey would take over 2 million years. These numbers illustrate why we cannot simply send a probe to K2-18b to look for life directly. We are limited to studying this world from afar, using only the light that reaches us across the vast gulf of space. This makes the achievements of the James Webb Space Telescope all the more remarkable. From a distance of 120 light-years, we can determine the chemical composition of a planet's atmosphere. We can detect molecules that might indicate the presence of life. We can learn about a world we will never visit, never touch, never see except as a faint dimming of starlight. This is the power of science, the ability to extend our senses far beyond their natural limits. Through our instruments and our mathematics, we can know things about the universe that no unaided human could ever discover. We can see farther, measure more precisely, understand more deeply than any generation before us. But there is also something humbling about these distances. The universe is vast beyond comprehension, and we are small. K2-18b is, in cosmic terms, practically next door, just 120 light-years away in a galaxy that spans 100,000 light-years and contains hundreds of billions of stars. Beyond our galaxy are billions of other galaxies, stretching out to the edge of the observable universe, 46 billion light-years away. In all that immensity, we occupy a single tiny world, orbiting an ordinary star in an unremarkable corner of the cosmos. And yet, here we are, contemplating it all. The universe may be vast, but it has given rise to beings capable of understanding it. That is remarkable, perhaps even miraculous. Whatever the ultimate nature of existence turns out to be, it has produced creatures who can wonder about it, investigate it, marvel at it. That is worth something. That is worth everything. K2-18b reminds us of both our smallness and our significance. We are small because we are just one species on one planet, unable to travel to distant worlds or communicate with whatever life might exist there. We are significant because we are aware, because we seek knowledge, because we care about the answers to cosmic questions. In the grand scheme of things, awareness might be the most precious thing in the universe, the one thing that gives meaning to all the rest. The night has grown late, and these thoughts can settle gently into your mind as sleep approaches. There is no need to grasp them tightly or resolve them completely. They are part of the ongoing conversation that humanity has with itself and with the universe, a conversation that will continue long after we are gone. K2-18b will be there tomorrow, and the day after, and for billions of years to come. The star it orbits is a red dwarf, a type of star that burns its fuel slowly and can shine for tens or even hundreds of billions of years. Long after our sun has swelled into a red giant and consumed Earth, K2-18b might still be there, orbiting peacefully, its oceans still liquid, its atmosphere still intact. What will happen to any life that might exist there over such vast stretches of time? Evolution on Earth has transformed single-celled organisms into the incredible diversity of life we see today, all in just a few billion years. Given tens of billions of years, what might life on K2-18b become? The possibilities are beyond imagination. Of course, this is all speculation. We do not even know for certain that life exists on K2-18b, let alone what form it might take or how it might evolve. But the speculation is part of the fun, part of the human experience of contemplating the cosmos. We are storytelling creatures, and the universe provides the grandest stories of all. Let your mind play with these ideas as you drift towards sleep. Imagine what K2-18b might be like. Picture the endless ocean, the hydrogen sky, the reddish light from the dim star above. Wonder about what might swim in those waters, what chemistry might be happening in the depths. There are no wrong answers, no limitations except those of your imagination. And when you wake tomorrow, the real work of science will continue. Observations will be made, data will be analyzed, papers will be written. Slowly, gradually, our understanding will grow. K2-18b will yield its secrets, one by one, to the persistent inquiry of human curiosity. This is a gift. This is a privilege. To live in a time when such things are possible, when we can actually investigate the question of life beyond Earth, is something our ancestors could only dream of. They looked up at the stars and wondered. We look up at the stars and study. We are answering questions that have been asked for thousands of years. Whether the answer about K2-18b is yes or no, whether dimethyl sulfide is confirmed or not, whether life exists there or not, the search itself is valuable. It is the search that defines us, the seeking that gives our lives meaning. We are creatures who want to know, who need to know, who will not rest until we understand. And so we search. We build telescopes and launch them into space. We develop techniques and refine instruments. We gather data and analyze it with all the skill we can muster. We debate and question and test and verify. We do science, that extraordinary human invention that has shown us so much about the universe and ourselves. K2-18b is the focus tonight, but it is just one star in the sky. There are billions more, many with planets, some perhaps with life. The universe is a vast laboratory, an infinite experiment, a story without end. We are characters in that story, brief sparks of awareness in the cosmic dark, trying to understand the plot. Sleep now, and let the story continue in your dreams. Tomorrow, there will be more to learn, more to discover, more to wonder about. The universe is patient, and it will still be there when you wake. K2-18b will still be orbiting its red star, still holding its secrets, still waiting for us to understand. Rest well. The search goes on, and somewhere out there, maybe, life is waiting to be found. As we approach the end of our journey tonight, let us reflect on what we have learned and what it means for the future. K2-18b is a world of possibilities. It might be a Hycean planet, covered by a global ocean beneath a hydrogen atmosphere. It might harbor life, producing dimethyl sulfide just as phytoplankton do in Earth's oceans. Or it might be something else entirely, a world we do not yet understand, following rules we have not yet discovered. The data from the James Webb Space Telescope has given us our first detailed look at this intriguing planet, and what we have seen is exciting, if not yet conclusive. The detection of carbon dioxide and methane, combined with the apparent absence of ammonia, supports the hypothesis that K2-18b is an ocean world rather than a mini-Neptune. This is a significant finding in itself, suggesting that a new category of potentially habitable planet might exist. If Hycean worlds are common, the number of places in the galaxy where life could potentially arise might be much larger than we previously thought. The tentative detection of dimethyl sulfide is even more exciting, hinting at the possibility that biological processes are occurring on K2-18b. If confirmed, this would be the first direct evidence of life beyond Earth, a discovery of profound scientific and philosophical importance. But confirmation is crucial, and scientists are rightly cautious about making claims that go beyond what the data can support. In the years ahead, more observations will be made. The James Webb Space Telescope will continue to study K2-18b, gathering additional data that will help clarify the picture. Other telescopes will contribute their own observations. The scientific community will debate and analyze and eventually reach conclusions that are supported by the evidence. Whatever those conclusions turn out to be, K2-18b has already made its mark on science. It has shown us what is possible, what questions can be asked, what answers might be found. It has inspired wonder and curiosity, driving us to look more closely at the universe and our place within it. And it has reminded us of something important. The search for life beyond Earth is not just an academic exercise. It is a deeply human endeavor connected to our oldest questions about who we are and why we are here. The longing to know whether we are alone in the universe is built into us, a fundamental part of what makes us human. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, carry this thought with you. We are part of something vast and wonderful. The universe is immense beyond comprehension, filled with stars and planets and possibilities we can barely imagine. And we, small creatures on a small planet, have the audacity to ask what it all means, and the capability to begin finding answers. K2-18b is one small piece of that vast puzzle, but it is a piece we can study, a piece that might reveal something profound. Whether it harbors life or not, it is teaching us about the diversity of worlds and the conditions that might allow life to arise. It is expanding our understanding of what is possible. And so we search, we wonder, we dream. And one day, perhaps, we will know the answer. Life beyond Earth will be confirmed, and the universe will never feel the same again. Or we will discover that Earth is unique, the only place where life has ever arisen, and we will treasure our planet all the more. Either way, the search will have been worthwhile. Rest now. Let the stars wheel overhead in their ancient dance. Let K2-18b continue its orbit around its red star, 120 light-years away, patient and mysterious. Let the James Webb Space Telescope keep watching, keep gathering data, keep pushing the boundaries of what we know. Tomorrow is another day, and the search continues. But for now, sleep. Dream of distant oceans and alien skies. Dream of life finding a way in the most unexpected places. Dream of the future, when we might know the answers to questions we can barely articulate today. The universe is full of wonders. We are among them. And K2-18b, whatever it turns out to be, is one more reason to look up at the night sky with hope and curiosity and the quiet thrill of discovery. Sleep well. The cosmos awaits. As the final moments of wakefulness fade, let your thoughts settle like dust after a long journey. You have traveled far tonight, in your mind, if not in body. You have visited a world 120 light years away, contemplated the possibility of alien life, and reflected on what it all means. These are the gifts of curiosity, the rewards of wonder. The universe does not owe us answers, but it gives us questions, and the questions themselves are precious. They drive us forward, push us to learn, inspire us to build telescopes and send them into space. K2 18b will be there when you wake. The scientists will still be working, the data still being analyzed, the truth still being sought. You can return to this story whenever you like, checking in on the progress, seeing what new discoveries have been made. And in the meantime, the stars will shine, the planets will orbit, and somewhere, perhaps, life will go about its business, unaware that beings on a distant world are watching, wondering, hoping to find evidence of its existence. This is the human condition in the age of space exploration. We are connected to the cosmos in ways our ancestors could never have imagined, able to reach across unthinkable distances with our instruments and our minds. We are small, but we are mighty in our aspirations. We are brief, but we are eternal in our questions. K218b is calling to us, whispering secrets in the language of starlight. We are learning to listen, learning to understand, and whatever we hear, it will change us. It will challenge us. It will make us grow. Sleep now. The night is quiet. The world is peaceful. And the universe is doing what it has always done, being vast, being mysterious, being full of wonder. Rest well and know that you are part of something beautiful. The search for life continues, and you are here to witness it. That is a gift beyond measure. Good night. The stars keep their vigil above you, ancient light from ancient fires, carrying messages across the void. Somewhere among them is K218b, a small world around a small star, possibly harboring an ocean, possibly sheltering life. We do not know yet. We may not know for years, but we are looking, and that is what matters. We are asking the questions, doing the work, seeking the truth, and one day the answers will come. Until then, there is wonder, there is curiosity, there is the deep satisfaction of being alive in a universe that asks to be understood. K2, 18b, is out there. Life might be there, and we are here dreaming of it, searching for it, hoping to find it. That is enough. That is everything. Sleep well, dream deeply, and tomorrow look up at the sky and remember, the universe is full of stories, and we are part of them all. Good night, and thank you for joining us on this journey to the stars. The quiet of the night enfolds you now, a blanket of darkness studded with distant light. Each star you see is a sun, each sun possibly orbited by planets, each planet a world with its own story. The scale is beyond comprehension, but that does not make it any less real. K218b is one story among trillions. Tonight, it was our story, the focus of our attention, the subject of our wonder. But there are so many others waiting to be discovered, so many worlds we have not yet seen, so many possibilities we have not yet imagined. This is the adventure of existence, the journey of awareness through a universe that constantly surprises and delights. We are explorers, even when we never leave our beds. We are travelers, even when we travel only in our minds. The cosmos is our home, and we are just beginning to understand it. K218b has given us a gift tonight, the gift of possibility, the gift of hope, the gift of questions that might one day be answered. Whatever comes next, this gift remains. Sleep now. Let the universe continue its work around you, stars burning, planets orbiting, Life perhaps arising on worlds we have not yet found. You are part of this great unfolding, connected to it all by the simple fact of your existence. Rest, dream, wonder. And when you wake, remember, the search goes on, and it is beautiful. Good night. But before sleep fully claims you, let us linger a little longer in this space of wonder. There is more to explore, more to contemplate, more beauty to be found in the details of this remarkable discovery. Let us think about light itself, the messenger that brings us news from K2, 18b. Light is one of the most fundamental things in the universe, a form of electromagnetic radiation that travels through the void at a constant speed, the fastest speed possible in our universe. Nothing with mass can ever reach the speed of light, but light itself moves effortlessly at this cosmic speed limit, carrying energy and information across unimaginable distances. The light that James Webb detected from K2-18b left that world 120 years ago. In 1905, when that light began its journey toward Earth, Albert Einstein was publishing his special theory of relativity. The Wright brothers had flown their first airplane just 2 years earlier. The world was a different place, and no one dreamed that we would someday have telescopes capable of analyzing the atmospheres of planets around other stars. Now that light has arrived, carrying with it chemical signatures from a world we will never visit. The photons that struck Webb's detectors had traveled through the void of space for over a century, unchanged, patient, faithful messengers from a distant world. And we received them, decoded them, learned from them. This is the magic of astronomy. We cannot touch the stars, but we can read their light. We cannot visit exoplanets, but we can analyze the radiation that reaches us from their vicinity. Through light, the universe speaks to us, telling its stories in wavelengths and frequencies that our instruments can translate into knowledge. The specific wavelengths absorbed by molecules like dimethyl sulfide are determined by quantum mechanics, the strange laws that govern the behavior of matter at the smallest scales. When a photon of exactly the right energy encounters a molecule of dimethyl sulfide, it is absorbed, exciting the molecule to a higher energy state. This selective absorption creates gaps in the spectrum of light passing through the atmosphere, and these gaps reveal the presence of the absorbing molecule. It is remarkable that the laws of physics are the same everywhere in the universe. The dimethyl sulfide on K2, 18b, if it exists, absorbs light at exactly the same wavelengths as dimethyl sulfide on Earth. The quantum mechanical rules that govern molecular absorption do not change from one star system to another. This universality of physics is what makes astronomy possible. We can apply our local knowledge derived from experiments in laboratories here on Earth to understand events occurring countless light years away. This universality also has implications for the possibility of life. If the laws of chemistry are the same everywhere, then the chemical building blocks of life should be available throughout the cosmos. Amino acids, the components of proteins, have been found in meteorites and detected in interstellar space. Water, essential for life as we know it, is one of the most common molecules in the universe. The raw materials for life seem to be everywhere. What we do not know is whether these raw materials regularly assemble themselves into living systems. The origin of life remains one of the great unsolved problems of science. We know that life arose on Earth, and we know roughly when it happened, but the exact process by which non-living matter first became living remains mysterious. Various theories have been proposed, involving deep-sea hydrothermal vents, lightning strikes in a primordial atmosphere, or chemical reactions on the surfaces of minerals. None of these theories has been definitively proven, K2-18b might one day help us understand the origin of life, but not by revealing the process directly. Instead, if life is found there, it would tell us that life can arise more than once, that Earth is not a unique fluke. This would support the hypothesis that life arises easily when conditions are right. Alternatively, if K2-18b proves to be sterile despite having seemingly favorable conditions, it might suggest that life is harder to get started than we think. Either outcome would be valuable scientifically. The question of whether life is common or rare in the universe is one of the most important questions we can ask. K2-18b might not answer it definitively, but every piece of evidence helps narrow down the possibilities. Let us also think about the star that K2-18b orbits, a red dwarf whose designation is K2-18. This star is quite different from our Sun, and understanding its properties helps us understand the environment on K2-18b. Red dwarf stars are the most common type of star in our galaxy, making up perhaps 70 to 80% of all stars. They are small, with masses ranging from about 7.5% to 50% of the Sun's mass. They are cool, with surface temperatures between about 2,500 and 4,000 Kelvin, compared to the Sun's 5,778 Kelvin, and they are dim, producing only a tiny fraction of the Sun's luminosity. K2-18 itself has a mass about 45% that of the Sun and a radius about 44% of the Sun's radius. Its surface temperature is around 3,500 Kelvin, giving it a distinctly reddish color. If you could stand on K2-18b and look up at the sky, the star would appear larger than the Sun appears from Earth, because K2-18b orbits so close, but it would be dimmer and redder. The light from a red dwarf star is different in quality from sunlight. Red dwarfs emit more of their energy in the infrared part of the spectrum, and less in the visible part. Plants on Earth have evolved to use visible light, particularly red and blue light, for photosynthesis. Photosynthetic organisms on K2-18b, if they exist, might have evolved to use infrared light instead, giving them a very different appearance. Red dwarf stars also have longer lifespans than Sun-like stars. The Sun is about 4.6 billion years old and is expected to remain stable for another 5 billion years or so before expanding into a red giant. Red dwarfs, burning their fuel much more slowly, can remain stable for tens of billions of years, potentially even longer than the current age of the universe. This means that planets orbiting red dwarfs have an extremely long time for life to potentially evolve. However, red dwarf stars also present challenges for habitability. When they are young, red dwarfs can be quite active, producing powerful flares that emit intense ultraviolet and X-ray radiation. This radiation can strip atmospheres from planets and damage any life that might be trying to develop. Whether K2-18b has retained enough atmosphere and shielding to protect potential life from this early bombardment is an open question. K2-18 itself appears to be a relatively quiet red dwarf, not showing signs of extreme activity. This is encouraging for the habitability of K2-18b, suggesting that the planet may have experienced a relatively benign radiation environment, but we cannot be certain without more observations. The relationship between a star and its planets is intimate and complex. The star provides the energy that drives a planet's climate and potentially its biology. The star's gravity shapes the planet's orbit. The star's radiation environment determines what kind of atmosphere a planet can retain. Understanding K2-18 is essential to understanding K2-18b. As you rest, imagine the view from K2-18b, if there were a vantage point from which to see. The sky might be perpetually twilight, with the red dwarf star providing a soft, ruddy illumination. The hydrogen atmosphere would scatter light differently than Earth's nitrogen and oxygen atmosphere, potentially creating unfamiliar colors and optical effects. The horizon would stretch away to infinity over the endless ocean, with no land anywhere to be seen. If K2-18b is tidally locked, as many planets in close orbits around red dwarfs are, one hemisphere would always face the star, while the other would always face away into the darkness of space. The boundary between these hemispheres, a ring around the planet, where the star is perpetually on the horizon, might be a particularly interesting place. Here, the lighting would be eternal twilight, temperatures would be moderate, and conditions might be especially favorable for life. Alternatively, if K2-18b has retained some rotation, perhaps maintained by the tidal forces of a moon we have not detected, it might have a more Earth-like day-night cycle. The red light of the star would sweep across the ocean as the planet turned, and the sky would change from dim daylight to star-studded night and back again. We do not know which scenario is correct. The rotation state of K2-18b has not been measured, and determining it from 120 light-years away is extremely difficult. But both possibilities are fascinating to contemplate, each offering a different vision of what this alien world might be like. Let us also consider the ocean itself, the vast body of water that may cover the entire surface of K2-18b. Water is such a familiar substance to us, so common in our everyday experience, that we sometimes forget how remarkable it is. Water has unusual properties that make it ideally suited for life. It is an excellent solvent, able to dissolve a wide variety of substances and bring them into contact with each other. It has a high heat capacity, meaning it can absorb a lot of heat without changing temperature dramatically, which helps stabilize the climate of planets that have it. It expands when it freezes, causing ice to float rather than sink, which keeps oceans from freezing solid from the bottom up. Water is also common in the universe. Hydrogen, the most abundant element, readily combines with oxygen to form water. Water ice has been found in comets, asteroids, moons, and even in the rings of Saturn. It exists as vapor in the atmospheres of giant planets and as frost on the poles of Mars. Wherever we look in the cosmos, we find water. An ocean on K2 or on 18b would be water, almost certainly. The conditions under which planets form tend to concentrate water in certain regions, and K2 and 18b appears to have formed in a region where water was abundant. The ocean might be salty, like Earth's oceans, or it might have a different composition depending on the chemistry of the planet's interior. The depth of a Hycean ocean is hard to predict. Earth's oceans average about 3.7 kilometers deep, but an ocean covering an entire planet the size of K2 to 18b could be much deeper. Some models suggest depths of hundreds of kilometers, with the pressure at the bottom so intense that water takes on exotic forms, compressed into states that do not exist under Earth's conditions. At extreme pressures, water can form a phase called Ice 7, a dense crystalline form that remains solid even at high temperatures. There might be a layer of this exotic ice at the bottom of K2-18b's ocean, separating the liquid water above from the rocky core below. This ice layer would have implications for chemistry and potentially for life, as it would limit the exchange of materials between the ocean and the planet's interior. Above the ice, the liquid ocean would extend upward for potentially enormous distances. The middle depths would be dark, far from the sunlight that penetrates the upper layers. Yet even in darkness, life might find a way. On Earth, deep-sea ecosystems exist around hydrothermal vents, powered not by sunlight, but by chemical energy from the Earth's interior. Similar ecosystems might exist in the depths of K2-18b's ocean, independent of whatever processes are happening at the surface. The upper layers of the ocean, where light penetrates, would be the most Earth-like environment on K2-18b. Here, photosynthetic organisms might float, using the energy of the red dwarf star to build organic molecules from carbon, dioxide and water. These organisms, if they exist, would be the base of K2-18b's food web, just as phytoplankton are the base of Earth's marine food web. And they might produce dimethyl sulfide, releasing it into the atmosphere as a byproduct of their metabolism. This is the scenario that makes the tentative detection of dimethyl sulfide so exciting. It suggests a living ocean, with organisms doing the things that living organisms do: growing, reproducing, releasing chemical waste into their environment. The molecule we may have detected is not just any molecule. It is a molecule that on Earth is intimately connected to the activity of life. But we must be humble. We are looking at a world through a tiny keyhole, seeing only the faintest hints of what might be there. The signal attributed to dimethyl sulfide is weak, barely distinguishable from noise. It might be real, or it might be an artifact of the data analysis. Only more observations can tell us for sure. And even if dimethyl sulfide is confirmed, we must consider alternative explanations. Science proceeds by ruling out possibilities, not by jumping to the most exciting conclusion. Perhaps there is some photochemical reaction, driven by the light of the red dwarf star, that can produce dimethyl sulfide without any involvement of life. Perhaps there is some geological process, some reaction between water and rock that can generate this molecule. We do not know of any such process, but that does not mean one does not exist. The scientific method requires us to test every alternative before accepting an extraordinary claim. The claim that life exists on K2-18b is about as extraordinary as claims get. It will not be accepted until every other possibility has been ruled out, and that process will take time. This is frustrating for those who want immediate answers, but it is the only way to get answers we can trust. Science has earned its credibility by being careful, by demanding evidence, by changing its conclusions when new data arrives. If scientists eventually conclude that life exists on K2-18b, it will be because the evidence is overwhelming, not because they jump to an exciting conclusion. As you drift deeper into relaxation, let these thoughts settle into the background of your mind. The details are fascinating, but they are also complex, and sleep does not require you to resolve them. Let them be part of the tapestry of wonder that surrounds this story. Threads of knowledge and speculation woven together into something beautiful. K2-18b is out there, real and mysterious, orbiting its dim red star. Something is happening in its atmosphere, something that produces the chemical signatures we have detected. Whether that something is life or chemistry or something we have not yet imagined, it is part of the ongoing story of the universe, the endless unfolding of matter and energy that has been happening since the Big Bang and will continue long after we are gone. You are part of that story. Your awareness, your curiosity, your capacity for wonder are all products of the same cosmic processes that created the stars and planets. The atoms in your body were forged in stellar explosions billions of years ago. The oxygen you breathe was released by photosynthetic organisms over billions of years of Earth's history. You are connected to the cosmos in the most intimate way possible. And tonight, through the power of imagination and the fruits of scientific inquiry, You have extended that connection across 120 light years to a world you will never visit. You have contemplated the possibility of life beyond Earth, a question that has occupied human minds for millennia. You have participated in one of the great adventures of our species. That is something to cherish. That is something to remember. As sleep claims you, let the wonder remain, a gentle glow beneath your thoughts, ready to resurface when you wake and look up at the stars. The universe is vast and full of mysteries. K2-18b is one of them. And we are the beings who ask questions, who build telescopes, who search for answers. Whatever we find, however the story of K2-18b ends, the search itself is a thing of beauty. Rest now. Dream of alien oceans and distant suns. Dream of molecules that might be signs of life, of telescopes that can see across the ages, of a universe that never stops surprising us. Tomorrow, the work continues. Scientists will analyze more data. New observations will be made. The picture will become clearer, one small piece at a time. And you will be here to learn about it, to wonder about it, to be part of the story. For now, sleep. Let the night wrap around you like a blanket of stars. Let K2-18b continue its eternal orbit, patient and mysterious, waiting for us to understand it better. The search goes on, the questions remain, and the universe, vast and ancient and beautiful, holds secrets we have only begun to discover. Good night, dear traveler. May your dreams carry you to worlds beyond imagination, and may you wake refreshed and ready to wonder again. The cosmos awaits. Let us continue our exploration a little longer, for there is still more to discover in this tapestry of cosmic wonder. The night is deep, and the stars are patient, and K2-18b waits at the edge of our knowledge, beckoning us to learn more. Consider for a moment the nature of scientific discovery itself. The detection of potential biosignatures on K2-18b is not an isolated event, but part of a grand tradition of human inquiry that stretches back thousands of years. From the first stargazers who noticed patterns in the night sky, to the builders of the James Webb Space Telescope, we are all part of the same project, trying to understand the universe we inhabit. Each generation builds on the work of those who came before. Newton famously said that if he had seen further, it was by standing on the shoulders of giants. The scientists studying K2-18b today stand on the shoulders of Kepler, Galileo, Herschel, Hubble, and countless others who contributed to our understanding of the cosmos. Their discoveries, small and large, accumulated over centuries to make this moment possible. And future generations will stand on our shoulders. The observations we make today, the data we gather, the interpretations we propose, will all become part of the foundation for future discoveries. Perhaps someone reading this decades from now will look back and marvel at how much we have learned since the first tentative detection of dimethyl sulfide on K2-18b. Or perhaps they will smile at our early confusion, knowing the answer to questions that puzzle us today. This continuity of discovery is one of the most beautiful aspects of science. No single person, no single generation can understand everything. But together, across the ages, we build a picture of reality that grows ever more detailed and accurate. The search for life beyond Earth is one chapter in this ongoing story, a chapter that may be reaching a climactic moment. Think about what it took to get to this point. The James Webb Space Telescope required decades of planning and construction. Thousands of engineers and scientists worked on its components, solving problems that had never been solved before. The mirror segments had to be polished to nanometer precision. The sunshield had to be designed to unfold perfectly in space. The instruments had to be sensitive enough to detect the faint signals from distant worlds. When Webb launched on Christmas Day 2021, everyone held their breath. So many things could have gone wrong. The rocket could have failed. The deployment could have malfunctioned. The instruments could have been damaged. But everything worked, remarkably, perfectly. Webb reached its destination, unfurled its mirror and sunshield, cooled down to operating temperature, and began its observations. It was one of the greatest engineering achievements in human history. Now that telescope is looking at K2-18b, gathering photons that have traveled for 120 years across the void of space. Each photon is a messenger, carrying information about the conditions on a distant world. Together, they form a spectrum, a rainbow of light that reveals the secrets of K2-18b's atmosphere. The scientists who analyze this spectrum are modern alchemists, transforming raw data into knowledge. They use sophisticated computer models to simulate what different atmospheric compositions would look like. They compare these simulations to the observed data, looking for the best match. They test their conclusions against alternative explanations, trying to rule out every possibility before accepting an interpretation. This process is painstaking and time-consuming. It requires patience, expertise, and intellectual honesty. Scientists must be willing to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it contradicts their hopes or expectations. They must be rigorous in their methodology, transparent in their reporting, and open to criticism from their peers. The result of this process is knowledge that we can trust. When scientists say they have detected carbon dioxide and methane on K2-18b, they mean they have evidence that passes strict tests of reliability. When they say the detection of dimethyl sulfide is tentative, they mean the evidence is suggestive but not yet conclusive. This careful language reflects the careful process that produced it. Trust in science is earned, not granted. It is earned by centuries of discoveries that have transformed our world, from antibiotics to smartphones, from space travel to gene therapy. Science works, and it works because it demands evidence, welcomes criticism, and changes its conclusions when better data arrives. The search for life beyond Earth is conducted with the same rigor that has made science so successful. Claims will not be accepted without strong evidence. Conclusions will be tested and retested, and if life is eventually found, whether on K2-18b or somewhere else, it will be one of the most thoroughly verified discoveries in human history. As sleep approaches, let this thought bring you comfort. The people working on K2-18b are dedicated, skilled, and honest. They want to find the truth, whatever it turns out to be. They will not mislead you with false claims or premature conclusions. They will report what they find with appropriate caveats and let the evidence speak for itself. You can trust this process. You can believe in it. And you can be excited about the possibilities it reveals while remaining appropriately cautious about conclusions that are not yet firmly established. K2-18b might harbor life. The evidence is suggestive, intriguing, worthy of further investigation. But we do not know for certain, and we may not know for years. That uncertainty is not a failure of science. It is science working exactly as it should, refusing to jump to conclusions, demanding strong evidence for extraordinary claims. And in the meantime, there is wonder. There is the beauty of contemplating a world so different from our own. A world where oceans might stretch to every horizon beneath a hydrogen sky. There is the thrill of possibility, the hope that we might not be alone in the cosmos. There is the satisfaction of being alive at a moment when such questions can actually be investigated, when real answers might be within reach. These are gifts. They are available to anyone who cares to receive them, anyone who looks up at the stars and wonders what might be out there. You do not need to be a scientist to appreciate the significance of K2-18b. You need only be curious, open, willing to let your mind expand to embrace possibilities beyond everyday experience. Tonight, you have done exactly that. You have traveled in your imagination to a world 120 light years away. You have contemplated the nature of life and the vastness of the universe. You have participated in one of humanity's great adventures, the search for our place in the cosmos. Now let that adventure continue in your dreams. Let your sleeping mind wander through alien landscapes, swim in extraterrestrial oceans, gaze up at unfamiliar stars. The universe is your playground, and in dreams, there are no limits to where you can go. When you wake, the real universe will still be there, waiting to be explored. K2, Ashuri, and 18b will still be orbiting its red star, still holding its secrets, still offering the tantalizing possibility that we are not alone. And the work of understanding it will continue, one observation at a time, one analysis at a time, one step closer to the truth. This is the legacy we leave to future generations. A universe more known, more understood, more appreciated than the one we inherited. Every piece of knowledge we gain, every question we answer, every mystery we solve becomes part of the gift we pass on. The children born today will inherit a world that knows about K2-18b, that has detected potential biosignatures on an exoplanet, that is closer than ever to answering the question of whether life exists beyond Earth. What a time to be alive. What a privilege to witness these discoveries. What an honor to be part of the species that asks these questions and seeks these answers. Rest now and carry this sense of wonder with you into sleep. The night is quiet, the stars are bright, and the universe is full of secrets waiting to be discovered. K2-18b is out there, real and mysterious, a world we have only begun to understand. Whatever it turns out to be, whatever secrets it holds, it has already given us a gift, the reminder that the cosmos is vast, surprising, and endlessly fascinating. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for caring about these questions, for wondering about these possibilities, for being part of the great human project of understanding our universe. Sleep well, dream deeply. And tomorrow, remember to look up at the sky with fresh eyes, knowing that somewhere among those countless stars, worlds like K2-18b are waiting to be discovered. The search continues, the adventure goes on, and you are part of it, now and always. Good night. And yet, there is one more thing to consider before we truly close our eyes for the night. Let us reflect on the emotional dimension of this discovery, the way it touches something deep within us. Humans have always looked at the night sky with a mixture of wonder and loneliness. The stars are beautiful, but they are also impossibly distant, impossibly alien, impossibly indifferent to our existence. We are such small creatures on such a small world, orbiting an ordinary star in an ordinary galaxy in a universe so vast that it defeats comprehension. The possibility of life on K2-18 speaks to that loneliness. It offers the hope that the universe is not as empty as it sometimes seems, that somewhere out there, other beings are looking up at their own night sky and wondering the same things we wonder. Even if we never meet them, never communicate with them, never learn their history or culture, simply knowing they exist would change something fundamental about our relationship with the cosmos. We would no longer be alone. The universe would have companions for us, fellow travelers on the journey of existence. The loneliness would not disappear entirely, for K2-18b is still unimaginably far away, but it would be softened, transformed into something more like solitude, being alone, but knowing that others are out there somewhere. This is why the search for extraterrestrial life captures the imagination so powerfully. It is not just a scientific question. It is an existential one. It touches on our deepest feelings about who we are and where we fit in the grand scheme of things. If life is found on K2-18b, we will have to reconsider everything. Our religions, our philosophies, our sense of ourselves as the pinnacle of creation will all be challenged. This might be uncomfortable, but it would also be liberating. We would know at last that the universe is not just rocks and gas and fire, but a place where life arises, evolves, perhaps even thinks and wonders. If no life is found, the search will continue elsewhere. There are billions of planets in our galaxy alone, and billions of galaxies in the observable universe. Even if K2-18b proves barren, the odds are overwhelming that life exists somewhere. The question is not whether life is out there, but when and where we will find it. Either way, the search enriches us. It gives us something to hope for, something to work toward, something that makes the whole enterprise of astronomy and space exploration meaningful. We are not just cataloguing rocks. We are looking for our cosmic kin. So let this thought accompany you into sleep. Whatever happens with K2-18b, the search matters. The questions matter. The wonder matters. Being part of a species that asks these questions and seeks these answers is a privilege, a gift, a source of profound meaning. You are one of billions of humans who have looked up at the stars and wondered. You are part of a tradition that stretches back to the first conscious beings who noticed the lights in the night sky. You are connected to the future, to the scientists who will continue this search long after we are gone, to the generations that might one day know for certain that we are not alone. This connection across time, across space, across the vast gulf between what we know and what we hope, is beautiful. It is one of the things that makes being human worthwhile. Rest now, and let this beauty surround you. The stars are shining, the telescopes are watching, and somewhere on K2-18b, something might be happening that will change everything we think we know. Or not. The universe keeps its secrets close, but we are patient, and we are persistent, and we will keep looking until we find the answers. Good night, fellow traveler. May your dreams be filled with wonder, and may you wake ready to face another day in this amazing, mysterious, endlessly surprising cosmos. The journey continues. The stars are waiting, and K2-18b, distant and enigmatic, holds its secrets a little while longer. Sleep well. The final moments of consciousness are precious, a threshold between waking and dreaming where thoughts become soft and boundaries dissolve. In these moments, let us make one last contemplation about K2-18b and what it represents. Every great discovery in the history of science has changed not just what we know, but who we are. When Copernicus showed that Earth was not the center of the universe, it changed human identity. When Darwin revealed our evolutionary kinship with all life on Earth, it changed how we see ourselves. When Einstein demonstrated that space and time are interwoven, it changed our understanding of reality itself. The discovery of extraterrestrial life, if and when it comes, will be another such moment. It will be the end of our cosmic loneliness, the beginning of a new chapter in human history. And K2-18b might be where that chapter begins. We cannot know the future. We cannot know whether K2-18b will be remembered as the place where life was first detected beyond Earth, or as one more step along the long road to that discovery, or as a fascinating but ultimately sterile world that taught us, valuable lessons about planetary science. All of these possibilities are open, and any of them would be a worthy outcome. What we can know is that the search itself is meaningful. The act of looking, of wondering, of trying to understand, is what makes us human. We are the species that asks questions, that builds tools to answer them, that refuses to accept ignorance as the final word. K2 can know 18b embodies this spirit of inquiry. It is a question mark hanging in the sky, 120 light years away, inviting us to investigate, to probe, to discover. And we have accepted that invitation, turning our most powerful telescope toward this distant world, trying to read the chemical messages written in its atmosphere. Whatever those messages say, they are messages from the cosmos to us. The universe is speaking, in its slow and subtle way, telling us about the conditions on a world we have never seen. We are listening, learning, growing in understanding with every observation. This dialogue between humanity and the cosmos is ancient and ongoing. It began when the first humans noticed that the lights in the sky moved in patterns, and it continues today with the James Webb Space Telescope. It will continue long after we are gone, as future generations ask their own questions and build their own tools to answer them. You are part of this dialogue. By caring about K2 Cyan 18b, by wondering whether life exists there, you are participating in one of humanity's defining activities. You are doing what humans do, looking outward, asking questions, seeking to understand our place in the universe. That is something to be proud of. That is something to cherish. In a universe that often seems cold and indifferent, we have created warmth and meaning through our curiosity and our connections to each other and to the cosmos. K2 18b does not care whether we exist. The universe does not care, but we care, and that caring is precious. It is the light we bring to the darkness, the meaning we create in a meaningless void. So rest now, with that light burning quietly within you. Let it warm your dreams and guide you through the night. Tomorrow, it will still be there, ready to illuminate new discoveries and new wonders. The universe is vast and mostly empty, but it contains pockets of warmth and meaning wherever curious beings exist. Earth is one such pocket. K2 18b might be another, and the connection between them, however tenuous, is woven by our wondering minds. Sleep well, dear dreamer. You have traveled far tonight, and you deserve your rest. The cosmos will keep turning, the stars will keep shining, and K2 18b will keep its silent vigil around its dim red sun. When you wake, the adventure continues. New data will have arrived. New analyses will be underway. The slow, patient work of understanding will move forward by one more increment. And you will be here to learn about it, to wonder about it, to be part of the greatest story ever told. The story of a universe coming to know itself through the minds of curious beings scattered among the stars. Thank you for sharing this journey tonight. Thank you for your curiosity and wonder. Good night. Dream well. And remember, somewhere out there, K2 18b waits. A world that might just change everything we think we know about life in the universe. Sleep now peacefully. Tomorrow, the search continues. In the stillness that follows, the universe continues its ancient work. Stars fuse hydrogen into helium. Planets orbit in their eternal paths. And somewhere on K2 or I2 18b, something we cannot yet explain is producing molecules that drift through a hydrogen atmosphere above an endless sea. The night embraces you now, gentle and complete. Your breathing slows, your thoughts soften, and the boundary between waking and sleeping becomes thin as starlight. Carry with you into dreams the image of that distant ocean world. See in your mind the red light filtering through alien clouds, the waves rolling beneath an unfamiliar sky. Imagine the possibility that tiny organisms, strange and wonderful, might be floating in those waters, living their lives utterly unaware that beings on a far-off planet are wondering about them. This is the magic of our existence, that the universe can contemplate itself, that matter can become aware, that creatures made of stardust can look up at the stars and ask where they came from. You are part of that magic. Your wonder is the universe wondering about itself. Rest now. K2-18b will be there when you wake, still mysterious, still beautiful, still waiting. Sleep well. Dream of distant worlds and endless oceans beneath hydrogen skies. Good night.